Hello, everyone, and welcome to the video in which I'm going to explain what an informative tone sounds like, how to use a formal and objective tone, because this is one of the learning targets that you're going to be uh, assessed on for this first assignment, this informative writing assignment. So I wanted to make it clear to you what that means and what that looks like. In addition to this video, I will also be posting a slide deck on Classroom. So if you need to pause on any of the slides or go back to it and refer to it, you can either do that with this video, but you can also see this slide deck on Classroom as well. The first thing you need to know is that a formal objective tone is a voice a writer uses when they want people to take them seriously. So there are times in all of our lives when we want people to take us seriously. And so using a formal tone is that writing voice that we use to get people to take us seriously. It's also meant to convey confidence and authority. So you want to sound confident. You want to sound like you have the authority, like you know what you're talking about. And so a formal tone is the way that an author does that. It's the tool in their toolbox that allows them to not only be taken seriously, but to sound confident, to sound like they have the authority to talk about the subject on which they're speaking. And the other thing about formal tone is the difference between a formal tone and an informal tone is pretty easy to spot when you know what to look for. And so that's partly the purpose of this video, is to give you some examples of what that looks like so that you can become somewhat of an expert on seeing the difference between these two tones. So a good way to start this off is to really compare what an informal piece of writing might look like in comparison to a formal piece of writing. The goal of this assignment is to have you write formally, have you write objectively. And so I want to show you the difference between these two, and you can actually see them so that you can see how your own writing compares. So a good way to do this is to think about a text message versus an online article or an article you might read somewhere. Because a text message is a very informal form of writing, and an article is the opposite. It's a very formal, and it's the type of writing that you're looking for this assignment. So a text message, some features might include using colloquial language. So colloquial basically just means it's very informal. It's very, very comfortable with the person that's speaking it, or the person that it's referring to. And you might see words like sup or kinda or dude or gonna. These words that you say all the time in text messages, but you don't necessarily use if you're writing a paper or something academic. A text message is also going to use personal pronouns like I and me, you, we, us, pronouns that refer to the individuals in a personal way. It's not going to be complete and grammatically correct either. So sending a text message, no one's grading you on your grammar. No one's grading you on whether or not you use punctuation. And so text messages have become this form of writing that pretty much anything goes. As long as it's understandable, no one really minds if it's not grammatically correct or if they don't use periods at the end of sentences and things like that. It's also sent to a specific person or a group of people that the sender is familiar with. So when you're familiar with the people that you're writing to, specifically in the form of a text message, you don't have to worry about being super formal because you know them, they know you. There's no expectation that this is going to be some formal lecture. It's just a casual communication. And so then on the other side of that is an article. Article is going to use professional and academic domain-specific language, words like unprecedented and deadline and environment. These words that seem like big words that people don't just use in everyday life. An article is also more likely going to use third-person pronouns. So it's not going to use personal pronouns like I and me and we. It's going to refer to everyone in the third person. It's very rare that you're going to see first-person pronouns in an article. You might see the occasional we or us, but for the most part, you're not going to see any personal pronouns. The sentences are also going to be grammatically correct and more complex in an article because there are editors whose job it is to make sure that those sentences are grammatically correct. And that's going to be a feature of an article that you're not going to see necessarily in a text message. And the last thing is the audience. So it's really all about audience to some degree. So a text message, the audience is your friends, your family, people you know, versus an article, the audience is a very broad assortment of people. So not necessarily people that the writer knows, people that the writer wants to connect with maybe, but not anyone that the writer knows. So it's important to consider the audience when you're considering writing formally or informally. Some examples of this. So an example of an informal piece of writing would be a text message that you might send. Yo, you trying to hit up a movie later? I need to get out of the house. 8 work. So you see some features of what I was talking about. Yo, you trying to hit up a movie? I mean, those are things that you might say in a text message that you're not gonna say if you're writing a paper for English class. You see, it's not grammatically correct. 8 work ? That's not a grammatically correct sentence, but in a text message, no one's gonna call you out on that. And that's versus a formal, which might look like this. The 2 individuals decided they were going to see a movie because they were tired of being confined, and they agreed to attend the 8 o'clock showing. So you can even see how that sounds different and more formal. It's referring to them in the third person, individuals, they. It's also using these more academic words like attend, confined, individuals, these words that sound very formal, and it's complex. It's got the and they agreed to. So it's a more complex sentence, and it sounds more formal, and it's pretty clear how that difference looks when you see the example. Another aspect of this that's really important to consider is opinions versus facts. So formal objective writing is distinguished by its use of facts. And informal and subjective writing is distinguished by its use of opinions or its assertion of opinions. Facts are formal, opinions are informal. That's not a universal truth necessarily, but for the purpose of this assignment, it is. We don't want it to be opinions. We want it to only deal with facts. So facts are objective, opinions are subjective. A fact is something that anyone can confirm. Anyone can go out and find research and do their own research and figure out that it's true. Facts are also generally accepted by a large number of people as true. Now, this is a tricky one because that's not always the case. As an example, for a really long time, people thought that the sun revolved around the earth, and so many people accepted that as true. And then science came along, Galileo specifically, and said, no, that's not true. The earth actually revolves around the sun, and people didn't believe it until it became accepted as true, and now we know that as a fact. But generally speaking, I think it's safe to assume that when people accept something as true, you can generally assume it's a fact. Facts also do not deal with emotion or ideology. So facts, you may have heard the joke online that facts don't care about your opinions, and it's really true. Facts don't care about your opinions or your feelings. And so this is something that to consider when you're thinking about facts versus opinions, which deal with the way that people interpret the world. So the way that I see the world is through my perspective. And so it is my opinion the way that the world looks to me. They do often align with emotions and my ideology. So the things that I believe, the things that I feel are often ways in which I interpret the world around me. So these opinions, these beliefs that I have align with the way that I feel and the way that I believe about, and the things that I believe about things around me. I want you to be careful with opinions, because it is possible for facts to support an opinion. And this isn't always a bad thing. It's good for your opinions to be supported by facts, but if I believe something and it's based off of a fact, my opinion on its own is not a fact. So I'm not allowed to say, I believe the sky is orange, and have that be a fact. So I can't just say the sky is orange because I believe that it's orange. Now, it might be true at the moment, and I might take a picture to confirm, hey, the sunset makes the sky orange right now. And so that might be a fact. The sky might be orange at the moment, and that might be my opinion. But my opinion can never be true on its own. It needs a fact to support it. And so that's one to be really careful with. But for the time being, I don't want you to worry so much about that. Just be thinking about how opinions are oftentimes more complex than just simple assertions of what I believe. So some examples of this. So opinion might be, that was the best meal I've ever eaten. It tasted delicious. That chef should get a raise. All opinions. There's no way to confirm that that's the best meal I've ever eaten. I don't even know if there's a way to confirm that for me personally. I can't even remember all the meals I've ever eaten. And so I can't confirm that, nor can anyone else confirm that. It tasted delicious. While I might believe that and it might be true, not everyone is going to agree with that or accept that that's true. I love pickles. I love the way they taste. My fiance hates pickles. She's going to think they're disgusting. I'm going to think they're delicious. So it's going to be hard for people to agree that that's true in some cases. The chef should get a raise. Maybe it's true. The owner of the restaurant might think that the chef gets paid plenty. The chef might think that he gets paid plenty. So it's my opinion that the chef should get a raise and not necessarily a fact or based on anything factual. And then on the other hand, facts might look like this. The meal is 420 calories. It comes with a salad, a chicken breast with mashed potatoes on the side, and a cheesecake for dessert. Many people have said they enjoyed the meal. So again, things that you can confirm with your own research. You could take the meal to Mr. Beck's chemistry room and set it on fire and know that it's 420 calories exactly. You can confirm and see that there's a salad, there's a chicken breast, potatoes, and there's a cheesecake. If you open up the box and or see it on the plate, it's all right there. Now, the last sentence is kind of one that I want you to think about in terms of facts and opinions can be related. So while it's an opinion that people enjoy, that someone can enjoy the meal. So, oh, I really enjoyed that meal. That's my opinion. But if I can go out and ask a number of people, hey, did you enjoy that meal? And they say, yes, I did enjoy that meal. And I can confirm that, that's a fact. I just did my own research. I just got the data and said that many people said they enjoyed the meal. So that's a fact that I can see that. And so that, again, you can see the difference between the two, and you can really tell clearly how one is very much informal and one is very much more formal in its style and its tone. Now, the last thing I want to talk to you about are some resources. So again, this slide deck is on Classroom, so it is a resource in and of itself. But so too is this article that I posted on here, this Grammarly article explaining the difference between formal and informal tone. Basically does the exact same thing that this slide deck does, just in an article format. And then these last two, the first one is an opinion piece on coronavirus. So you can read that, it's very short, and it'll show you what it sounds like for someone to write an opinion piece that is less formal than basing something purely on facts. And then the last link there is a formal article about the health benefits of connection and kindness. And so you can see, again, you can read both these articles and really tell the difference in the tone between the two of them. And if you want some practice in seeing what that looks like, those would be two good resources for you to use. So I want you to use this slide deck as a resource, and I want you to be able to tell, because this is a skill that I think is important for all of us to have, not just for English 9, but in our lives. And you'll definitely use this skill again in English classes in the future. So I wanted to make this video just so that you can see an aspect of this assignment and what this learning target really looks like specifically. So if you have questions, please send me an email, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have for me. But for the time being, I will leave you with a simple thank you.